to the water. Oh, and then you push it from the bottom. It's like a syringe. No, don't. I don't. I'm not gonna. Are you sure? Don't waste the good stuff. I'm not gonna waste it. Oh, we're live. Live. Okay.
Yep, you guys are live now.
Right.
Okay, we're all good?
We're good.
I know she's en route.
Where's Jen? Oh.
I'll hear her keys in a moment.
How is it September? That's what I want.
Okay, we'll get her going. You good? Good afternoon. I wish to call to order this Harbour Authority meeting at 4 p.m. on September the 6th. The Harbour Authority would like to acknowledge you a clue of thought on whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. Notice the video recording audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and on Zoom, broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Are there any late items? Looking for approval of the agenda? That's for the next one.
I'll move that. Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And looking for adoption of the minutes from May 2nd, regular Harbour Authority minutes.
Move adoption. Second.
Any errors or omissions? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Public input. This is an opportunity for members of the public to provide input. Speakers will have 2 minutes to present unless the Harbour Authority votes unanimously to extend the speaker's time. Please note this is not a question and answer period, and Harbour Authority is under no obligation to enter into a debate of any issue. That said, we are more than happy to receive your comments. We ask that all speakers state their name, address, and topic. If you're attending via Zoom, please raise your hand icon to speak, and if you're attending by telephone, hit *9. Are there any members in the audience who wish to speak? Yeah, you go ahead. Yep, you'd like to. Is it regarding your application?
It is.
Okay, we'll get. That's going to be one of the items coming up there. So, if there's something outside of that, Louis? No. Okay. Joseph, are there any members of the public who wish to speak via Zoom or telephone?
None via Zoom or telephone at this time.
And lastly, have you received any emails from community input at ucluelet.ca?
We have received no emails to community input.
Perfect, thank you. Moving on, is there any unfinished business for anyone? Okay, we have 2 reports today. The first one is 7.1 is Harbour Authority's Small Craft Harbour Program. So Abby, welcome.
Good afternoon, Harbour Authority. Before you have a recommendation to explore working with the Harbour Authority Association of BC to undertake a review of the Harbour Authority and the District of Ucluelet's managed and overseeing of the harbour. The primary function of this is to provide knowledge and insight into the working of the Small Craft Harbour from a Harbour Authority perspective and a municipal staff perspective. So that's what's in front of you. I would like to point out that under the recommendation, it says council and it should say Harbour Authority. So the recommendation is actually that the Harbour Authority approve option A. Any questions?
Looking to my right, any questions from anyone? I think it's great before us. Obviously, we've been up here for a while as a Harbour Authority, and I think it's be well received to get a little different lens from that group. And I believe Rob and the group have a good working relationship with Kevin, so it's I'm fully in favor of this recommendation, and hopefully they can add some more value to our dedicated group.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Yeah, you go for it. Your head nodding.
Yep. So I'll move the recommendation that council approve option A to
Harbour Authority.
That Harbour Authority approve option A to explore working with Harbour Authority Association of BC to undertake the review of how the Harbour Authority and District of Ucluelet manage and oversee the harbour.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. It's great to see that in today's agenda. Report number 2. I see the next item is a West Coast Wild Adventures request for a fuel boat. And again, this report is provided by Ms. Fortune. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Harbour Authority. The recommendation before you is to deny the West Coast Wild Adventures request to moor a 450-liter dual-tank filling station at the small craft harbor. As requested by the Harbour Authority, staff looked into the request to mooring a dual-tank filling station. Considerations that were looked at in terms of harbor operations, environmental impact, and insurance. Although permissible, throughout staff's discussion with DFO and information provided by Transport Canada, there were several concerns that were raised, and items identified that form the basis of the recommendation. The primary concern is that there's an increased risk of fuel spills with the fueling station, which are heightened because they're located in a public facility. A fuel spill would have increased impact on the marine and aquatic environment, and harbors are already highly impacted with operations, and increased potential for spillage or contamination is not desirable. DFO Smallcraft Harbor does not normally support transportation of fuel within our water lots. However, the decision, as they pointed out, is up to each individual harbor. Although not recommended, if a fueling station were to be allowed by the Hewlett Harbour Authority, you would need to ensure that operators follow all Transport Canada guidelines and obtain all necessary approvals and permits required by Transport Canada. As well, staff recommends several permit conditions to be put in place to minimize the potential risk associated with the independent fueling stations. Overall, staff was unable to identify any benefits to the community at large or the harbor associated with the fueling boat being located in Small Craft Harbor. Are there any questions?
Any questions from Ms. Fortune? We have a little discussion about this.
Yeah, let's have a discussion.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, sure. Let's do
We
that.
got 50 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So I say we have a discussion. Despite the recommendation and despite the information that is, although it's up to us for sure, and that it's everything that is being asked is actually, what was the word? There was a word that is permissible. Thank you. I don't like to make things difficult, but I also always err on the side of caution and safety because we need to, in my opinion. If it's permissible and it's done properly, when we talk about how there's no benefit to the district, if this is allotted, there's no benefit to the district for a lot of things that we approve. I'll say that, and then maybe we can continue a conversation. Lara, you probably want to speak.
Well, I was just looking at the everything, all the conditions that if it was approved, all the conditions that would be met, and then probably Louis has something to say too, that the general liability and the response kit, and just like it's almost like a temporary use permit for like 3 years, so we can see how it goes and see how it is for Louis. I get that it's not for the whole community, but as Councillor Cole said, a lot of things aren't. So I would like to hear a little bit of what Louis, what you're thinking of doing, and what if you could meet the conditions that were set out.
We go to the podium there. We'll have a few questions for you. You did your hair and everything, so we want to make sure you look good. Have your time.
Too short. There you go.
Well, good. Thank you for inviting me here, and I'm happy to be here talking to you. There is a little bit of a benefit for the community. I'll be paying mortgage for the boat, so there'll be an extra mortgage that'll be paid. It's going to make it quite a bit safer. Instead of having a taxi down to the fuel dock all the time, and there is a little bit of a congestion point there, but we've dealt with that, and it's safe enough, but the more time so we don't have to go through there, the better. it will make the business a little bit better. You know, like I said, it'll make it a little bit safer, and it'll make it a little bit more efficient. And so I'm hoping that you can take that into consideration. I understand the environmental issues, but there's a lot of boats down there that have a lot more fuel than 450 liters in them. And, this is going to be in a contained welded aluminum boat. So anything that would spill would actually go into the boat, into the thing, and we could deal with it there. Like I said, the regulations are very specific and have to be followed to the letter, and I'm willing to do that. We manage the fuel dock out at the airport, and we're well aware of fuel, how to have to deal with fuel. So I could carry on, but like I said, I think that's pretty much the basics, and I'll leave it up to you. Like I said, I'll answer any questions you have.
Perfect. We'll have a couple more. I did.
And Louis, how do you fill up that tank?
Well, I have to taxi down to the marina, to the boat marina, because I have an STC that I can use boat gas in the airplane, and that's why I got that specific airplane, is because it's legal for me to use boat gas. And so then you're taxiing down there. And that's one of the safety issues, is it gets really busy down there in the summertime with a lot of the boats, the fishing boats and things, and trying to get in there when the current is running and everything. I mean, we've been lucky over the years. We haven't had any issues, but as it gets busier, there gets to be a lot more challenges. And, it's just not, I'd prefer to be able to fuel it up at the dock, so I could go there when it's not busy with the fuel barge and fuel up, and then,
Okay.
be a lot less trips going down there.
That's what I was asking. How do you fill up the new tank? How would you fill up the new tank at the dock?
Yeah, it gets filled up at the marina.
Oh, it does still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it would be, the boat would go down there and then fill up there. Or the alternative is I could, I could get another tidy tank in the back of a truck and fuel it up from there, down the ramp. So there's a couple of options, whatever works best for, yeah.
Go ahead.
So through the mayor, too, actually, this is going to probably be.
Oh, sorry, Joseph.
Councilor Kapoor is on quick.
Yep.
I think she believes there she is right there. So,
Oh, I didn't hear that?
What's up?
delay for her.
That's fine.
It's okay.
You're good.
So, whilst Council Horror is getting set up through the mayor to peeps in the room, and it's probably to district staff. So, it's been mentioned that there are plenty of boats in the harbor that have more than 450 liters of fuel on their craft. So, why would this be a different concern? Yes.
So just,
Sorry.
we need microphones?
Yeah. Sorry. I might have confused it by now bringing in.
We'll
Okay.
get Kevin piping in here.
Yeah.
We have nothing but time.
Yep, that's it.
Welcome, Councillor Hoare. The blueberries were delicious, by the way.
Yeah, they're the best blueberries in the world. One time only this year.
So the difference, as I see it, is the fact that it's not being held. It's not a vessel. It's transferring fuel. So he's taking the fuel from the barge, I'll call it a barge, or the vessel he's filled, and now refilling his plane. So the environmental issue is the filling part of it. There's also security issues. Now he's now got a fuel tank there that's open to the public to take what they want. You can only lock out so much of it. You've made the mention that you've looked after the fueling station at the airport. I looked after a fueling station at the fuel dock. Difference is there's regulations behind that. You can't just have a fueling station wherever you want to put a fueling station. What's the next one? Guys are going to bring a tanker truck onto the whiskey dock and fill draggers because you guys are potentially allowing this process to continue. Limited use is limited use, but monkey see, monkey do. If he's allowed to do it, what's going to stop the guy with the jerry can coming down? Well, he can fill up stuff. Why can't I? I have concerns with that whole process, which I've talked to Louis about on a management aspect. Where the fuel dock, I've got no smoking signs, no welding, any of that stuff. What prevents him fueling the gas in a boat that's doing some welding on the B float? So he's got gas fumes in the air. He's fueling at a large volume. There's potential, there's risks. The whole idea is to try to minimize the amount of risk down there. Stuff that I can't control. I can't control someone coming down there smoking while he's fueling. It's not a fuel station. It's fish cleaning station.
Thank you, through the mayor, thank you. I guess my thought is, if it's permissible, because I go back to the permissible thing, which means it meets certain criteria, it doesn't exploit certain criteria. And then I also go back to, I see lots of guys with jerry cans on the dock all the time. What they're doing with it, I don't know, because I don't know if it's boats, whether they're fueling tenders or they're bringing extra stuff. I actually don't know enough about it to speak to it. When we're talking about one provider, because we do only have one, and thank you, Louis, we're fortunate to have that kind of commerce and that kind of diversity in our tourists. What do you call those, excursion, etc. I'm having a hard time with finding the difference between this, as long as it's done properly by regulation and permissible, and saying, well, no, because even though it's permissible and we're meeting all the regulations to make it permissible, that we're saying, meh, we just kind of want to make sure that those other things are, yeah, sorry, not enough words right now.
Can I speak?
Yeah, just 1 second there.
Yeah.
Thank you, through the chair, to Louis. You provided some examples of other companies that have something like what you're describing. I think they were both in Tofino, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Maybe you could speak to that.
Leo Air has the same situation. They have a barge with a tidy tank on it, and they fill up from a tank in the industrial area with a truck, and then they truck it down, and they fill up their tidy tank from there, and then they fuel up the airplanes from the boat.
But the Atleo Air is not under the Harbour Authority. I imagine them they're under their own dock by the shores. Is that am I correct by saying
I
that?
don't know that, but I do believe that they have to deal with the Harbour Authority. Yeah.
And was there another example, I think, as well? Wasn't
Yeah,
there?
the other example was Tofino Air, and that was done way before there was a lot of regulations. I don't think that would happen anymore, putting big fuel tanks over the water like that. Yeah, so I think that was just a grandfathered thing. But yeah, like I said, the way I want to set it up is that, I would make sure that there would be no fuel that would get into the water. Oh, the other thing that I wanted to mention is I do have a letter from the fire chief. I had him down there right from the start to make sure it was going to be okay with him, and they wanted to make it into a fire lane and stuff so that there would be a lot of signs, and he seemed to be fine with it. It's like I said, there is a letter that I've sent to all of you guys from the fire chief, and that was the start of what got me going to look at doing this. So.
Through the chair to Louis. Kevin brought up a good point about security. How is this tidy tank going to be secured? Because that is a big concern down at the
Yeah,
harbor.
no,
isn't it?
tidy tanks are designed to be locked up, and so they can be locked up, so that nobody can access them. Yeah, so tidy tanks are something that's used in the logging industry and the fishing industry, and
Right.
so they're, and they are Transport Canada. They're approved by Transport Canada, so all of the, but like I said, it's limited to size, can only be 450 liters, but they're in the back of trucks all over town,
Mhm.
right? So and they're being transported as it is. So
Yeah, and I have to respect what the harbor master manager is also saying, because at the end of the day, where Louis is, I think it's working in the interim, but that it was designed for a fish cleaning station, and I know I'm a user of the docks, and when the plane is there, it's definitely it's got a wingspan, right? And I'm sometimes surprised you haven't been hit by now, being down there. So the vision would be is you'd have your plane on one side and you'd have your tender on the other side.
no, the tender would be behind the boat. There's a little float where the ramp comes down. So the tender would be not on the main part of the channel. It would be on the protected side.
Right.
Yeah, so it's quite protected. Yeah.
No, it's tough. You know, we're all trying to get the right answer to help you
Yep.
out, and
No,
you know, connect. You know,
No, I
personally, if it wasn't you, I think it would be an easy decision. We would kind of say denied and move on. It's just wanting to try to give you some paths forward in order not to expose your plane or waiting for 45 minutes taxiing, waiting for you to get your little opening in. And I understand there's some. There are some logistical issues with that. I think when I look at this, I get it, and we're starting to go from water to water. Basically, is what you're doing with a 5/8 line with probably a nozzle that whether it's the tiny tank one or whether you're doing the ones like at the gas station. Those none of that's certified, right? The only thing that's certified on your piece of hardware is your tiny tank. Your
well,
lines.
no, all of the pumps and the nozzles all have to be certified as well. Yeah. Yeah. And I've talked with the fuel distributors and everything, and they can provide me with all the certified stuff.
You have something?
The other thing is it is a separate thing. It's a small dock, so other people, that, like Kevin was saying, what's to stop somebody from going on the government dock? Well, I'm willing to do like Laura had said, let's try it for a couple of years and see how well it works, and just make it specific to that dock, so that nobody else can say, oh well, Louis doing it. Well, he's
that will be a reality.
Yeah.
Louis is doing it. As Councillor Cole said, everybody's going with jugs, and next thing you know, we've got tiny tanks pulling up there, and we're filling up boats. But
It's a hard one.
go ahead.
I think we go back to the permitted and the certified comments and the legitimacy of what is legally allowed. And I disagree with that. If it wasn't Louis here and it was someone else here, I'd feel the same thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, Louis. Peace out. But I would still look at it through the same lens in that it's permitted. We're meeting all certifications, and if it streamlines an asset to a resort municipality providing an excursion moment, and the benefits are we're negating a bunch of the congestion or the wings coming into the fuel dock, and I know David fuels up there, and I can just imagine I wouldn't want to be driving a plane around the water.
And that's why I'd like to focus on the safety of
Absolutely.
being able to do that. So that's it makes it safer for me, but it also makes it safer for the boats as well, right? So and the people on the docks and that sort of thing. So it's
I'm safety first.
Misfortune.
Yeah, just to additionally add to what our harbor master was talking about, one of the concerns, obviously, the key concern is the environmental issue around our harbor already has some contamination issues, and we want to, moving forward in 2022, we want to ensure that we respect the environment for the area as well. And if we put in one fueling station, is there going to be a request for more? So it is something to consider when you're looking at the big picture, especially of the harbor. And it was one of the things that came out of the harbor master plan is just trying to keep our harbor as healthy as possible.
I do have a hard time approving this because I'm not down there all the time, and Kevin is, and if he's having concerns about this as well, I mean, when I was reading it today about all of the conditions, if the conditions are met, but there still is a lot of environmental concerns and then safety concerns, and as it goes down the line, other people asking, and it's just a domino effect. And so I am having a hard time, especially because Kevin is the guy on the boots on the ground too, right?
Councillor Hoare?
I'm going to tie into what Ms. Fortune said. That particular area really can't take a fuel spill, and but it's a particularly anything around those pilings. Believe it or not, those pilings have a huge amount of life on them, and so I have a lot of trouble with this one because traveling through the harbor in a plane
to get to the fuel dock is awkward, and the harbor is just getting busier and busier. So I'm really torn. But I mean, the marine biologist in me says like a drop of fuel in the harbor is just going to kill things. And it's right by the aquarium, and their intake is, the intake is deep, but there, and I'm not super comfortable with it for the green side of me, but the busy harbor side too. But I understand Councillor Kemp's point of view that Mr. Kurtz is boots on the ground. He sees it. And I'll tell you, I've been on that dock, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't look terribly safe happening down there. Not your stuff, Louis. Whole lot of other stuff. And I see people flicking cigarettes, and I worry about things going boom.
Councillor McKinnon?
Thank you. Through the chair, to staff, would it be possible to consider this for a 1-year trial period instead of a 3-year trial period?
Well, I think that's really up to us, right? And staff are just trying to provide us the best information for us to make the decision. So
I don't think that it was meant to be a trial period or whatever. Louis got an ask, and we would have an answer, and now we're coming up with it because it feels like a temporary use permit. Like we could see how it goes, and sure, we could say you can do this now because it's permissible, and if you meet all these and these certifications are met, and yes, accidents can happen anywhere, and safety first, and all of that, and I don't disagree, but the aquatic life is just as endangered at the fuel dock as it is anywhere else, and there are tidy tanks all over town, and I get that it's not in the water. I understand that Mr. Courts is boots on the ground for sure, 100%. And but I don't think that sitting here, I can't see a reason enough legally or has a recommendation to not approve. Even if it's approved now and it's recanted if it's not working out, or there's more congestion, or there's theft, but I think there are bigger fish to fry down at anyways. Oh, fish to fry.
Yeah, I thought you meant that was
no,
intentional.
I didn't, but I said it.
Man,
now I
good.
mean it. Okay.
That was good. Mr. Lawrence?
Jennifer, you had mentioned that it was by the aquarium.
It's closer the other way.
Closer
Yeah.
the other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's in
I'm
the-
like, I just, all the pilings everywhere.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Lawrence.
Those the
Through
pilings
the chair.
at the fish cleaning thing are steel, so they're not wood. They're
You're going to let Mr. Lawrence answer it.
Just a point of clarity for Councillor Cole, or Harbour, sorry. With respect to the authority to or permissibility of an activity, it would be consider it as something like a gas station or any other fueling station. So there are rules and regulations to permit almost anything, and it's provided that you meet all of those regulations and safety measures, etc. There, you could put a new fueling station within the small craft harbor. So the discussion is not really regarding whether or not you have the ability to actually do something, because we have a fueling station. There are future fueling stations that can find, provided that you meet all the regulatory requirements and safety requirements, you can install additional fueling stations. So with respect to this request before the Harbour Authority, it's the location and the size and the nature of the transfer of fuel within the small craft harbor that is discussion. So it is permissible, right? And it always will be, provided you meet all the regulatory requirements for whatever it is that you want to do. With respect to this is a small transfer station that is not regulated similarly to the large fueling stations that we have, like for all the boats and that. So the oversight is substantially less, and the regulations, although you have to still meet the regulations on it, there's a lot less oversight for something of this size, right? So the smaller the smaller the filling station, the higher the risk, which is counterintuitive because of the volume of fuels. But when you're looking at the big fueling station, there's a lot more oversight to it, training, certifications that have to be met with that. I'm not saying that they can't be done with a small one, but it's substantially different. So I just wanted to offer that as a little bit more context for the permissibility of an activity.
Thank you, through the mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. So now my question to you is that we've already made the comment that there are many vessels out there already holding more than this amount of fuel on them. So we're concerned about the transfer of fuel in this small space.
They hold, not transfer. Yeah.
Sure. So the concern in transferring is a flaw in mechanisms or devices, which are all certified mechanisms and devices, and we're talking about something the equivalent to a tidy tank in the back of a pickup truck. So I'm just wondering if we might not be blowing some of these things out of proportion, as far as there's a whole bunch of fuel sitting in the water down there right now, and there are people running around with jerry cans, and there are people doing all kinds of things. Is this not maybe putting a microscope on something that maybe, if it was, and now here we go, I just finished saying, you said, if it wasn't for you, Louis, I'd be, and I said, I take the person out of it because I stand by the fact that if it's permissible and whatever, and I understand that the legislation, the permissibility is on varying depending on the sizes of the fueling station. However, so now I look at, okay, well, honestly, how haphazard do I think Louis is? So now I'm putting the person back into it. So there's a bit of a conundrum because I just said I would take him out
And the
of it.
reason I said is Louis is because I know Louis has been trying to find adequate dock space for a number of years. He's been in the harbor for 10 plus years, and he's a valued member. He does a lot of great work. He's just trying to find his new little area in order to provide the work. So that's when I say it's Louis.
Yeah.
It's not Harbour Air in front of us.
100%.
It's Louis trying to just make a go of things and continue to exist. That's why it's, for me, it's really he plays a big role in this decision for me. So sorry, Melanie. Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, through the chair, to Louis. You have a new pilot that is working for you, is that correct?
Yes.
So would that person be in charge of fueling the plane, or would it always be you?
No, I would train him, and he would be fueling the plane as well. And right now, he fuels the plane. Yeah. But he's had some issues at the fuel dock as well. So.
That does not give me confidence.
Well, no.
No, as in probably getting
I'm
to
just-
the fuel dock.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
you said
trans-
issues at
We've never
at
had
the fuel
any
dock.
accidents
Oh,
or touched any boats or
gotcha.
anything, but
I thought you meant spillage or something like that. Okay.
never had any issues at the
Okay.
fuel dock.
Good. Thank you.
But like I said, it is a challenge, with the currents and the winds and and the boats. The boat traffic is the big one.
The boat traffic isn't going to get lighter. The problem isn't going to solve itself or get easier.
It's an interim solution.
Yes, 100%.
So what's before us is an interim solution up to 3 years, and is the group comfortable with that? Either you want to deny it with the.
I would not support the recommendation.
Okay.
Which is to deny. That's a double.
Well, if you flip the page over, there's another recommendation if someone wanted to move it on page 12.
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm just sorry, I scrolled past.
No, it's all good.
Get back to it. On page 12. Well, it's gone. That the Harbour Authority direct staff for the Harbour Authority's consideration to draft an agreement between the District of Ecolid and West Coast Wild Adventures to permit the storage of aircraft fuel and mooring of a portable fueling station within the Ucluelet Small Craft Harbor, inclusive of the conditions set out in the Harbour Authority Staff Report number 22-131.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Okay.
Wow.
Thank you, Louis, and we're counting on you to work professionally with our harbor master, and we wish you luck.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. Yeah, and I won't do anything until we get all of the ducks in a row. So,
Okay.
so we have, yeah,
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a
Good. Thank you.
Okay, any notice motions? Moving on, we have 2 information items. First one is, Mr. Courts will please provide a short summary of what went on this summer.
What went on? How did it get to be September?
It was a summer.
Right?
Yeah, I know. You blink.
Oh my God. Yeah, so on the commercial end of it, we had halibut and stuff up until about the end of June. Guys had switched over to troll gear. We had a First Nations fishery started July 15th, commercial fishery. Area G troll started August 1st. They're both still continuing till September 15th, and then they'll be closed down. Fishing was good to begin with. A lot of the guys that normally would fish north, it wasn't as good, so we've had majority of the Area G trollers, which isn't a whole lot anymore, around 40 vessels in our area. The big stuff for us this year was the commercial tuna. All the warm water stayed at the border and close. Even the recreational guys were going 30 miles off and catching a lot of tuna. Price held. Mostly probably because of COVID issues. So most of the guys are pretty happy. Interactions with the commercial and recreational, I've used a little bit of normal commercial docking for recreational this year. Not a whole lot of conflict at one curmudgeon, but the rest is pretty good. Understand what's going on for the operations. So. Negative issues, still waiting on pilings, still waiting on my contractor to come. He was coming in June, he was coming in July, and now it's September. So I'm still hoping things to go on. He was going to talk with engineering, DFO engineering, about putting the steel piling in replacement. I still not heard back from either Dan Jarvie at DFO or from Brian from Pacific Industrial Marine. So. On the 29th of August, we had a break-in our laundry room. The change machine was broken into, and all the money was taken out of it. So it's presently not operational. Washing machine was a little damaged, but it's still working, so it seems to be fine. So brought in Tofino Tech, who's my fellow that does my cameras, kind of revamped a few things, put in new installs just to try to make it work. So. Any questions on anything else?
Any questions, Mr. Courts?
No, but I have a comment. How sad that is that people are going to steal change out of... Anyways, sorry. Just a comment.
I have a comment as well. I saw on the community board that several cars between Jamie's and the aquarium were broken into in the last day or so. So there's some negative elements in town. Yeah, unfortunately.
Stole your CP car.
Someone stole my CP card.
Yeah. So all in all, Kevin, I know I'm a user down there. I thank you for what you're going on down there. I think you had another season. You had lots of staff there, and everything seemed to be going well. And I know we had some budgeted a few projects down there. I think signage and I want to say cleaning stations. I'm going off memory here, so obviously we're unsuccessful with that, and maybe ready for next spring or something.
It'll be done in the fall. It's like everything else, trying to get labor. I've talked to both the welders in town to build the revamp the cleaning station. The signage I have, but I wasn't going to put it up if I wasn't prepared to put the rest of it together. So.
I do have one comment. I'm glad that you put in here, Kevin, about the garbage, that we need to put that in the budget for next year, because those dumpsters have just been stock-a-block filled with community garbage.
With community garbage, as much as you educate, it ends up being that.
Doesn't matter.
In the Bearware cans work well if people know how to use them. I'm getting half dumpsters and 8, 9, 10 bags in the morning laying out front of them because they don't know how to open.
It's everywhere.
Cans. Oh, exactly. It's the issue, right? So, but yeah, lots of community garbage in there. But we moved the ones at 52 steps. That seems to have helped. Educated my guys that are there. If you got garbage, just call me. I meet them at the top of the stairs, throw it in my truck, and bring it down to the main street. So.
I have 2 comments.
Yeah, go. Sorry, I
Just
wasn't looking.
one that I was really happy to see on Facebook, somebody calling out somebody's name about garbage that ended up in the dumpster that shouldn't have been. And it was I just kind of smirked because, sorry, you're doing bad things. There you go. Publicly shamed. I guess I shouldn't be happy about publicly shaming people. Maybe I want to take that back, but I was a little bit happy about that. And then, secondly, that Mako knows this, those bear things sometimes don't work because the bear chewed through our handle at the station.
Oh, you're talking
Yeah.
about the carts themselves.
The carts, not
Yeah,
the
you're
not
talking
the
about
big
metal.
things. Yeah.
Thank you, through the chair, to Kevin. I was really surprised to see that Ucluelet is no longer recognized as a designated harbour to clear customs. When did that happen?
Without having the dates in front of mid-June. So I got the okay from my contact at CBSA that we were good to go in May. So I put it out. We were good to go. We were redesignated. The facility was never technically a recreational designated area. It was commercial. But with an agreement with RCMP, they would allow people to clear customs. Ottawa decided they weren't going to do that anymore. So if you guys are looking to reestablish that, there is a process, and we could definitely go over the process of trying to get that reestablished. So I know CBSA wants it reestablished. They've been over a few times out in their Zodiac this summer, and it's better to have a place here. So.
That too was in the back of my mind, and so that now, if that's the case, without that designation, we probably run a higher risk of 52 steps being looked at again as something that they don't want to support keeping going. Was that not sort of part of what 52 steps had going for it as far as staying and being?
It's still designated as a commercial customs clearance. So we've had 3 U.S. tuna vessels in the area. One's presently still here, as well as the Canadian vessels that go beyond the 200 and come back. They have to re-clear them back in. So that's still a commercial dock. So I could still use that argument with DFO, that the dock's for that.
But the customs would help as well.
Well, yes, the recreational customs would work, but definitely working with the commercial, because DFO is commercial. It's the commercial aspect that I would be pushing from DFO for the customs dock.
Okay. I just don't want to lose 52 steps
Yeah.
now that we still get to keep it for a bit.
Well, we can always tie ourselves to the poles there when they get so. We got some options. Any other questions for Mr. Courts? Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
9.2 is a resolution tracker. Any questions for Ms. Fortune? Okay. And question period. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions about items that have been addressed on today's agenda. Questions about items not related on today's agenda will not be heard. Are there any questions from the audience? Nothing? Okay. And there are any questions via Zoom or telephone?
None via Zoom.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone listening. And have we received any questions via email to communityinput@ucluelet.ca?
Not at this time.
And there is no closed section. So this meeting is now officially adjourned at 4:43. Thanks, Gab.